Well, hello, friend, and welcome to another episode of Van Life Living in the Ark. I get on here and to talk about Jesus, you know me. And I'll tell you the truth, I was talking to my mother earlier. I can't explain to folks what I know. There's no way of explaining. Jesus did a great job of explaining it to the best that you would ever understand it. Jesus said the kingdom was like, the kingdom was like, the kingdom was like. What he was telling you was how to find it. He gave you all these list of commands to do, and by doing them, you end up finding something that the world doesn't have. But it's all about love and forgiveness and joy and peace. Not that the world has peace, friend. If you are looking around this world like I am, you know that, well, there's just no peace coming to this world. Because, well, man can't do what man can't do. That was for my Father to bring peace. Because only when you get to know the Father you get to understand what peace truly is. Friend, it's peaceful out here in these woods. But right now I'm in a windy spot. I don't know if you've noticed the phone shaking. I got this microphone so that you wouldn't hear the wind the way you did before. Friend, sometimes it's just a struggle for me to talk about things because what I know is something I can't put into words. To understand the purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience, but other than doing what Jesus said, there's just no other way of figuring that out. Jesus did tell you to give your gifts in secret, and that was so that you'd know that you were giving them to God, and you knew why you were giving them. Some reason today I'm really struggling with talking. Father, well, friend, I come on here trying to say what it is the Father wants me to say, and to tell you the truth, I'm not real comfortable talking about the things that need said. Because I've come to know love by experience, I want to talk about love and joy and peace and how it is you can find it and how it is you've got for eternity to do so, but that's just not the truth. The truth is the world was created for a purpose, and that is to come to know love by experience. But if you don't choose it, then because you didn't choose it, you can't have it. And Jesus told you how to do it. And anybody that sought the kingdom will find it, but it's found in the love of your neighbor. And because Jesus said, hang all the laws and the prophets on only 2 commandments, and one was like the other. He said that literally, friend. He said that we have to love one another. That's the way you get the kingdom. And he wasn't talking about there, he was talking about here. Jesus said the kingdom isn't going to be said to be here or there, but the kingdom of God is within you. And he has me on here talking because he told me that I need to clarify that, because Christianity has taken a whole new path long ago that isn't about doing that. It's not about finding the kingdom in your life. It's not about sacrifice and selfishness for the love of your neighbor and your Father. It's become about we kind of throw them the leftovers. And then, friend, I'm not here to give you judgment about it. I have to judge myself for it. but I have to talk about the truth because that's what my Father says that I'm here to do. So I have to talk about it, not that there's any judgment in it, because Jesus said that. He said that when he was talking to the Pharisees at one time, he said, I'm not judging you, but if I were to judge you, then my judgment would be fair because I speak from my Father, and my Father's speaking for me, and he used different words. Please go read it. Because tell you the truth, friend, I don't want you to believe a word I say. I want you to go read Jesus. I want you to buy a Bible with what Jesus said and read and start reading and understanding him. Because if you want the kingdom here, then he's the man to give it to you. But if you don't want it here, then don't ask for it in your death, because that isn't what Jesus said. Jesus said that he who saves his life will lose it, yet he who loses it for his sake will gain it. Friend, that's not what this world's talking about, and it's not what the church is talking about. The church wants you to give you 10% and feel all warm and fuzzy, and I'm not here to make you feel warm and fuzzy. I'm here to tell you that if you look around and notice that a third of this world is near starvation, well, there's a reason for that. It's called selfishness. And that is the thought of Satan. And it comes with a heavy dose of fear, friend. Here we fear for our future, and therefore we try to store up all this stuff in our barn. Jesus gave parables about that, by the way. And then he said that before the guy retired, that his life was commanded of him, and he had stored up all that in the barn for nothing. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter what I'm saying. What matters is what Jesus said. And that's what I'm always on here trying to get, because, friend, I am not without sin. I'm just not worth this message. But anyone who promises the Father that he'll do whatever to get the truth, well, then when he gets the truth, he has to do what he's asked. And my Father's asked me to talk about this, and I have free will just like you. I could not tell the truth. I could not talk about these things. But if I don't talk about them, then I'm going to lose the kingdom that I've gained. And because I lose it in my life, I'll lose it in my death. That's what Jesus was talking about. It's not that my life is going perfect, friend. Things are always going wrong. The kingdom comes from being at peace for the love you give and then receive from the Father. But you have to seek him to know him. You have to get to know Jesus. Jesus said that if you get to know me, then you'll know my Father. Because you know my Father, then you'll know me. But you can't know him unless you know what he said and did what he asked. The church says you don't have to. I'm telling you that's a lie. Jesus said that those that hear my sayings and put them into practice will be like those that built their house on a rock. And those that hear my words and do not put them into practice built their house on sand. So I'm here to tell you that the time's coming where those that have houses built on sand are not going to make it to this kingdom in their death that they were looking for, because they didn't find it in their life. We all have to go through trials and tribulations, friend. It's part of life. I'm not saying I've got it right. The truth is that I've got no courage, friend. Zero courage. It's the reason I quite often stall and don't want to get on this camera. This is what my Father said I'm going to do, but friend, I don't want to be talking truth. I'm selfish. I want to keep my life, unlike what Jesus said. But I have to do it because I told my Father if he'd show me the truth that I'd talk about it. And I would, because I didn't believe in Revelation and I didn't believe in the Exodus, friend, but my Father showed me that both are true. And so therefore, I'm only here to say that if you want the kingdom in your death, look for it in your life. Don't believe anybody else. Go buy a Bible with what Jesus said and read, and get down with the message of Jesus and see if what he said is what the church is saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't care what your church says. Jesus, you know why a bunch of his disciples left him? when he came out of the synagogue that one time, and he was in there preaching that his flesh was real food and his blood was real drink, and that they had to eat his flesh and drink his blood. And people were appalled by that. And afterwards, outside, a lot of the disciples turned around and left after that because it was such a hard teaching. But let me tell you what he meant. His words are his flesh, and therefore eat his words and drink his blood, which is his spirit. So if you eat his words and drink his spirit, then the kingdom you seek you will find. But you have to understand his words, or you understand nothing at all, because the church doesn't teach the whole message of Jesus. They teach the parts that they can fit in that sound cozy with Moses and Joshua and Noah and all of that, friend. I'm not here to talk about them because it has no real meaning to me anymore. My father showed me that yes, the Exodus is true, but it doesn't matter because it was about creating a law, not about rising in the spirit of the law, which is the spirit of love. Jesus came to tell us how to rise in the spirit of love. So if you don't want to rise in the spirit of love, then you don't want to know Jesus. But if you do want to rise in the spirit of love, then understand what he was saying, because he said, loving those who love you, that's easy. Even the sinners and tax collectors do that. What credit is that to you? Right? So what he was saying is that you only get to know God's love by getting to know yours, and the only way to get to know yours is to give it to those that don't love you. And you do that by going out and helping other people and getting to know people, and people that you would judge, go get to know them. Go find out why you think that they're evil and find out that they're not evil, that they were just taught wrong things. Friend, I've worked in the mental health field for the last decade. And I've been through all kinds of addiction myself, on top of working with others that have addiction. Let me tell you something, friend. This is a hard world to live in, and whether you've had to experience it or not, many people have. And that kind of trauma and abuse that people go through, they don't know what love is. Love's something that you learn from those that love you. You know, I've heard quite often, it's like men that beat on their wives and then beg them not to leave because they say they love them. Friend, that man doesn't even know what love is. How can he give it to his wife? There's the truth. But friend, I was a drunk that hurt people. I'm not here to tell you how wonderful I am. I'm here to tell you that this Jesus taught me how to love and taught me a greater way of being. And it's so great that I just don't want to lose it. And the only way not to lose it is to give it. And the Holy Spirit said, this is the way that I'm supposed to give it. I have to talk about it on this camera. I have to talk about Jesus. I have to talk about the fact that I don't know when Revelations is coming, but it is coming. And if you're not prepared, then you won't be prepared. So I'm telling you, every day is a good time to prepare. Come to know love by experience. That's the purpose of the world. That's the purpose my Father created it for. But if you won't choose it for yourself, then he won't choose it for you. And because you didn't choose it for you, you didn't choose it for him. Because you didn't choose it for your neighbor. So that's what I'm really here to talk about, is to just talk about the love of Christ and how doing what he asked, you'll find it a worthy task. But if you're not willing to do it, then don't ask my Father for a kingdom that you're not willing to bring. That's what he told me I'm supposed to talk about, because he gives everything and asks nothing for it, so that we may know ourselves by experience. But out of that, he asks us to love one another and then give to him what it is we seek for ourselves, which is love. All right, friend, I'm going to make this a short video today. Just know that I love you because my Father loves you, and I don't like to talk the hard things because I want everybody to think they have forever to just get this right, and that's just not the truth. And you can see that this world is making bad decisions. And it's making far more bad decisions than what the average public knows about because they follow that news. Friend, I've got no love for Donald Trump, even though I love him because he's a child of God. I do not love what he represented. But I will tell you this, the one thing that he said that is true is fake news, friend. Our news is fake. It's fed to us by corporations, and corporations own the world, if you didn't notice that by now. So therefore, if you want to start understanding things, start looking at things like YouTube. Start looking for alternative places to learn things and see that the truth isn't what they've been feeding us. See that what this nation does in its name, in my Father's name. It's his name on our money, friend. Everything that this money's spent on is done in the name of my Father. All right, friend. May God bless you and yours.